fractional reserve banking, this is the TLDR of fractional reserve banking. Someone deposits $100, then the bank is allowed to loan out 90% of that and only keep 10% of it in its reserves. So if you backtrack that to the very beginning of banking, banking is just started as some guy that happened to have a vault, or the equivalent of a vault, like a safe place to store people's gold, mainly gold, other valuables too, but mainly gold. And when people deposited the gold, he gave them receipts for the gold. And people soon realized that they could use the receipts to trade with one another instead of using the actual gold, because the receipts were much easier to carry around. Therefore, they were a better medium of exchange. By the way, I don't like the term store of value. I think medium of exchange is through space and time. And I think this dichotomy between store of value and medium of exchange is manufactured to a large extent by the bankers. Because what they realized that they could do is that they could print out more receipts than they actually had gold in their vaults to back up. So people started trading the receipts, and some banks printed so many receipts so that the bank customers became suspicious, and then they tried to withdraw all their gold at the same time, and finding out that there wasn't enough gold in the vaults. This is called a bank run. It usually led to the bank going bankrupt and the customers of that specific bank losing all their money, or they had already lost all their money, they just didn't know it yet. But then this banking cartel, these nice people here in the previous picture, where are they? They decided to collude and form a bank for banks, so to speak, the Federal Reserve Bank and other central banks in the world. They work in the same way. So when a bank run happens, they loan out money to that bank and bail out the bank, so that the bankruptcy that shouldn't have happened never happens. Which means that we're living in this perpetual debt machine that just keeps lending out money over and over again, money that has to be paid back with interest that is simply not there because it's made out of thin air. So the machine needs to perpetually expand to function at all. And as Bitcoiners, we're aware of all this stuff. And we know how bad it is, because what it does is that it gives more power to the government. In the US, new money is printed this way, and also to a process called quantitative easing, which is basically the government selling bonds to the Federal Reserve in exchange for newly minted dollars. But what is a government bond? It is a promise from the government to steal more in the future than what they're stealing now. So it's a promise from the government to rape your children. And they sell that for money created out of thin air. Meaning that they get more and more power to actually fulfill their promise and steal more in the future. So as long as central banking exists, their left and right is pointless. The government will grow, and it will grow like a cancer, and all the institutions will become bigger and bigger, effectively imprisoning everyone. Only this time around, it's not Great Britain, and you have no America to flee to. Like even in New York, people started fleeing even further west. Even though there were tribes of Indians and stuff, and dangerous things in America, they chose freedom over captivity. It's like that meme with, I'm sure you've seen it, the lion at the zoo and the lion on the savannah. One has free healthcare and free food, social security, and he's fucking depressed and in a cage. The other one is free and has survived the savannah in this proud and standing tall and strong. Nowadays, you can't really flee to a physical place, but this is what happens when you introduce central banking. This is the Federal Reserve created, and the dollar losing 99% of its value since, or 96.7. I think that number is higher now, considering, yeah, fun fact, in 2021, so during COVID, 21 million new dollars were printed per Bitcoin mined. Let that sink in. That means that $21 million is eventually a low price for one Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin is guaranteed to surpass $21 million per coin if we just let this thing play out, like let the better money take over the worse money. So, and all fiat currencies die at some point. Yeah, now I'm struggling to find a segue here, but I rewatched The Shawshank Redemption one day. We can say, oh yeah, many Irishmen were imprisoned in Shawshank prison. Have you seen this movie? It's one of the highest rated movies on IMDb. And I realized that this is a movie about time preference. Because you have a character called Brooks Hatlen, this gentleman. He's been imprisoned all his life. And when he's finally released, when he's like 85 years old, he works in a supermarket for 2 weeks and then hangs himself in a very tragic scene where he carves the words, Brooks was here, on a wall in his apartment, and then hangs himself. Because he was institutionalized, meaning that the prison walls had become he felt secure inside the prison because he knew the times. He knew he was the lion in the cage. He knew that he would get his meal every 3 times a day. He knew that he was going to bed every day the same time. Everything was routine and imposed on him by people who had imprisoned him. In the same way, a 9-to-5 job is imprisoning all of us into this perpetual paying taxes and paying inflation. Like if you count every single tax that a person has to pay for a normal workday, like I'd say it's somewhere around, like if you're really honest about the numbers, it's probably around 80%. If you count inflation as a tax, and if you also weigh in all the exponential growth that could have been, that never happens because the entrepreneurs were taxed. Like when there are no taxes, businesses can grow exponentially because they get to keep all of the profits and they can reinvest and reinvest, and it becomes better for everyone. But so if you're paying 80% taxes, 4 days out of 5, you're not working for yourself, you're working for your captors, like your kidnappers. Perpetual Stockholm syndrome. And Red, this character, Morgan Freeman's character, he thinks hope is dangerous. He thinks like hope can give you this false sense of that you're going to be released one day and they're going to be nice to you. And that's, in his opinion, that's what killed Brooks. But his friend Andy Dufresne, the main character of the movie, he challenges this opinion and says that hope is like the only thing we've got. And hope is a rational choice. Because guess what? You're going to die anyway. So you might as well be hopeful instead of like thinking that there's no hope and that there will be CBDCs and the EU will, MiCA regulation will be even worse. We're going to have to accept a shit ton of cookies in the future. That is one way to tackle the world and to go into the future. But I think hope is a rational choice. You can make irrefutable arguments for hope being the better choice. And simply because you're going to die anyway. And look at the Soviet Union, which basically was a giant continent-sized prison for everyone in it for 70 years. Nobody got to keep any of the fruits of their labor. But that ended one day because people simply stopped and communism went away, and now we're creeping our way back to it in different parts of the world. But resistance is always the preferable choice. And no matter how small you think the government is, the correct way to view that is to always insist that it should be even smaller. It's always directionally correct. And Bitcoin is a great enabler of that if we let it be. So this is the prison warden, and he's completely baffled by this hole in the wall in Andy's cell, because Andy has digged himself out of the prison by carrying a spoonful of sand every day for 10 years and digging this tunnel. And once he's free, he makes a little treasure map for his friend Red, and the movie ends with them being all happy on a beach in Mexico. So I would say for us Bitcoiners, what this means is like, the thing to fight for is like, don't listen to what your captors tell you. Like, your kidnappers are telling you you have to pay capital gains taxes, you can't use Bitcoin here, you can't use Bitcoin there. Start accepting Bitcoin for your goods and services, and stop giving a fuck about what they are saying, because while it might be like legal, it's not lawful. They have no right. Like, what man has a right to decide what's good and what's not good for another man? Like, as long as you're not harming anyone, why should you give in to whatever politicians decide? I think hope is the rational choice there. And if we fight for that, and if we start, instead of complaining that we can't use Bitcoin on a medium exchange because it's taxed, like, just start using it. Be the revolution you want to see in the world. And don't cheer on for strategic reserves. Cheer for the countries that drop the capital gains tax and like let this thing happen for real. So that is how you find a pot of gold at the end of the real rainbow, and not the political rainbow. Anyway, yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, we're going to do a few questions and answers there now. If anybody wants to ask any questions, just put up your hand there. Anybody want to ask any questions? Yeah. Want to stand up there? Louise?
Luis. Hello everyone. My name is Luis. Well, I didn't hear someone mention about Satoshi Nakamoto here, but yeah, he brought to us like this kind of, we can think about the future and some kind of financial freedom for us, for our family. The other topic here in question that I want to make is related to Bitcoin is bringing some kind of freedom that usually people don't remember sometime. For example, I have a Visa card here in my pocket, right? So who accepts Visa here? Nobody accepts Visa. No one is able to accept Visa card here because we need to go to a third-party company, and then this another company is going to another company that maybe is paid to someone else, right? And through Bitcoin, we can make peer-to-peer payment. And the question is, in South Africa, in many other countries, they are already able to use Bitcoin as payment, and because many people doesn't have access to bank account. And how do you see this as a revolution for people that doesn't have like IG or documentation, and how this can help many other people, because you need to have documentation, bank account, and everything?
It's already available everywhere. You can install a Bitcoin wallet and use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. It's totally possible everywhere. It's just that in most places people don't dare to do that because they think they have to obey something that someone told them. And like, this is the thing. All Bitcoin is an agreement on a fixed set of rules. We are the nodes. We Bitcoiners are the nodes. We decide what software, what hardware to buy, what software to install, and that becomes the network. So it's all predicated on a human decision. So a miner is not an ASIC in a hangar somewhere. A miner is the guy who decides to buy the ASIC and run the software. And so, and since Bitcoin, like every Bitcoin is owned by someone keeping a secret from someone else. So regardless if that is the secret, if that is your actual 12 words, if it's the location of a hardware wallet, if it's your password to a third-party website, doesn't matter. The point is that Bitcoins cannot really be owned. They are just a secret we keep from one another, and that unlocks gives us the power to move the sats in the UTXO. what this means is that all of us are now incentivized to help one another, because the success of Bitcoin is the success of other Bitcoiners. So the more we use this, and the more we help just be friendly to one another, and I've seen this firsthand in Bitcoin companies. Bitcoin companies are much more, like in fiat land, there's backstabbing and you have to fight the competition. In Bitcoin, competition is good, but collaboration is even better, because if Sapright succeeds, Trezor succeeds. So they all have an incentive to help each other succeed. We're all in the same boat. And this is because at the end of the day, this is just an agreement on a fixed set of rules. And the reason we agree on this specific set of rules instead of shitcoiner rules is that these rules are more expensive to break than just follow. That means that is what rules without rulers mean. And also that we need overwhelming consensus to change the protocol. That means that if everyone agrees it's a good idea to do it, that's sort of what we define a good idea as. So Bitcoin can, at least theoretically, only change for the better if it changes at all. And the whole point is this finite number, something on the internet that cannot be copied. And the reason it can't be copied is because it's not on the internet, it's in our heads. It's a part of us. Every single Bitcoin is a part of a human being. So we are now a bigger entity, and this is our cardiovascular system. We are connected in a way that humanity has never been connected before. So we're all, and all of this is voluntary. A democracy is not voluntary. Any type of state is not a voluntary system. Bitcoin is. So it's sort of like a game of chess. Like the two chess players decide they want to play a game of chess. Both have something to gain from doing so because they like doing it. And the rules of chess don't change. The last time they changed was like 1100 years ago. And there's no big chess state to dictate the rules. It's what we come to consensus of is the rules that becomes the rules. So like Bitcoin is like that. It's just a voluntary agreement.
Okay, very good. We have another question here from Martin. Cheers.